What's up, card fighters? BOTCG here, and I wanted to go over my OSELARGEST, that's what this guy's named, OSELARGEST, budget deck profile. This is with none of the really expensive, generic good stuff cards that you could possibly put into this deck to inject more power and, soul charging / draw power, or quote unquote, yeah, just really those. I went for a budget route just considering with how expensive Vanguard is with Divine Z coming out, just because of the weird ratios of the set. They've injected more cards into the set, but they basically kept the ratios the same in terms of pulling triple rares and double rares, what have you. So yeah, this is a deck that if you buy the and I actually have it pulled up on my computer right now, with what currently the trial deck is going for. This whole deck, you could build it under $60. And I wouldn't say this is a deck that I would happily competitively take into a tournament, but this is a deck that I would be happy to go into a locals with this deck and say my deck is functional and it can take some games because of how consistent it is in trying to get its game plan off, and it can procure a bunch of value in all stages of the game. Because that's what I noticed with the original core cards of the strategy. You weren't really doing anything until turn 3. So with all the space I've had in the deck, basically, like, these are the amount of core cards you're running in the deck. And with all the free space, I just used it to boost up basically the consistency and the power it has in the early game. But let's go ahead and get into the ride line of the deck. I'm going to give a quick brief rundown of what... I'm gonna give a quick brief rundown of what the ride line does, just because this would be a deck that most people probably wouldn't know what this deck does. The grade 1 of the ride line is when it's ridden upon by this specific grade 2, you soul charge 2, give your Vanguard 5k, and then when the grade 2 is ridden upon by the specified grade 3, you can draw a card if you have 4 or more cards in soul, which is very easy to do with this version of the list. And then OSELARGEST himself has a counterblast ability to search for a copy of himself from deck, give himself 10k for the turn. That's an act ability. And then his on-attack ability is Energy Blast 4, which is a grade 3 or less card from your soul. Call it to rear guard and it gets 10k until the end of turn. So you can't really use any of the other cards that use energy in this set, because Energy Blast 4 is a very steep cost, especially if you're going first. There will be a point in the game to whereas you just straight up can't use that ability. I believe it is either turn 7 or turn 8 where you wouldn't be able to Energy Blast 4, because this is the only card in the deck that does Energy Blast. But yeah, that is a brief rundown on what the ride line does. Getting over to what the core cards of the deck are. Let me move this out the way. Getting over what the core cards of the deck are. And obviously, if you were able to pick up the trial deck for much cheaper for what it's going for right now, it's going for about $25. You can build this deck for even less than $50. Or maybe if you just buy the singles from the trial deck itself, if you already have your Energy Crest, then you don't need to pick up the trial deck at all. You just need to pick up this grade 3 and that's it. But Persona Ride, again, this deck revolves around Persona Ride, revolves around like adding it from your deck to your hand. So you want to max out on it. And then 4 copies of Steam Artist Tilligen. This is a card that in conjuncture with Full Pigment Dragon. So this is the main combo of the deck, to whereas you want to have Tilligen on the rearguard circle, attack with Tilligen first. He's a beat stick. If you Soul Blast OSELARGEST for his skill, he'll get plus 15 instead of a plus 5 for his Soul Blast on attack skill. But when he's put into Soul from rearguard, you could Soul Blast 2 cards that aren't named Tilligen to draw a card. Full Pigment Dragon's effect is, when you attack a Full Pigment Dragon, you can counterblast 1. If you have a grade 3 or Vanguard of OSELARGEST, you can put another front row rear guard into soul and draw a card. So this would be your Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 2 combo to draw 2 cards. That's kind of what the deck mainly wants to do. Because the way you multi-attack, you want to clear that circle up anyways, just because you would basically be forced to call over the unit. So usually the attack pattern of the deck goes rear guard, Vanguard, rear guard. Usually that's how the attack pattern of the deck goes. But these are the main core cards of the deck. These are basically the only things you really have to pick up from Divine Set 1. There's really nothing else in the set that specifically calls for OSELARGEST. It's literally just these 2 cards, which is weird. But yeah. Because your deck really relies on these 2 cards in conjunction with each other to work, what I've decided to do is I've implemented a package in the deck that is fairly cheap and that can help you get into your combo pieces and can help you feed your soul, because you're soul blasting 1 off of Tilligent and then you're soul blasting 2 off its secondary effect of Tilligent. So you really go through your soul fairly quickly in OSELARGEST. So I wanted something that could help refund it and help search for your pieces at the same time. So I went for the normal order package that came out in set 11. These are still fairly cheap cards. So 4 copies of Orthani's. Orthani's skill is when she's placed on rear guard, other than a unit card's ability, if you played a normal order this turn, you could Soul Blast 1, check the top 5 cards of your deck, Superior Call 1, grade equal to or less than your Vanguard, or if it's a normal order, add it to your hand. So yeah, this is what helps you consistently get to your Tilligents and helps you get to your full Pigment Dragons. Also helps you do like a little bit of a rush value engine in the early game. Its secondary effect is, which is partly why we go through Soul so much in this deck, is on attack, if it attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, Soul Blast 1, draw a card, and she gets 5k until the end of turn. So this is another card, an ideal card to call out from your OSELARGEST on attack skill besides Tilligent. And then for the rest of the order package, we're playing 4 copies of Reception of the Famed Demonic Mansion. What this card does is you could soul charge 1. You may soul charge 1, choose one of your units, it gets 5k until the end of turn, and then at the end of your turn, discard a card from your hand, and choose a Reception of the Famed Demonic Mansion from your drop zone and add it to your hand. So it recurs itself, so that you're able to get off your little order package essentially every turn if needed. And then we have the Searcher of the Famed Demonic Mansion is Famed Harsh Demonic Lordling Bamis. Well, literally on call, CB1. It doesn't have to be called from hand, so you can call this off of OSELARGEST, or you can call this off of Orthani's. CB1, search for the mansion, add it to your hand, and then continuous rear guard. If you play normal, it's a 13k attacker or booster. So this is my little order engine I've added to the deck, and it's added consistency, soul charging, and deck thinning. And it's also cheap too. So I wanted to add cards into the deck that I couldn't just straight up inject more powerful soul charge pieces or more powerful Persona Ride pieces without taking away from the core strategy, or, without breaking the bank in terms of budget. So this little 12 card package, very affordable. This is cents. This is like $2 to $3 a copy. So I think this is the most expensive card you have in the deck currently. But yeah, that's the order package I chose to run for this deck, just to help smooth things out in terms of consistency of what the deck is trying to do. Then we still have quite, because you literally only have 2 specific support cards. Nothing else in this set calls for OSELARGEST. You literally have 2 specific support cards. So there's so much you can do with this deck. It's literally just based upon what you're able to do with your budget. So again, we want selective soul charging because we want to put certain cards into soul. A very cheap budget option that can help us do that is 4 copies of Friend of Netherworld Ling. This was reprinted again in the Festival Booster 2023. So this is a very cheap card right now. I believe she's like a little less under than $1 right now. And then we have 3 copies of Jewel Core Dragon. Now, a problem that I realized while playing this deck is that if you're not Persona riding, your first attack unboosted is going to, even with boost, will be fairly weak, and even the attacker that you call out, if it's not your grade 3 Tilligent, will also be fairly weak. So Jewel Core Dragon is just something that can minimally hit 13 by itself, or just be a 13k booster by itself as well. Generally, if we're not playing in order, our boosters are also fairly weak as well. But this is just helps with like a slight power scaling. Like you're able to easily hit the 15 to 18 to 23, even 28k mark on turn 2, which this just help. Like you're very easily able to fill up most of your board with good value pieces that are going to help you get to your game plan, in my personal opinion. And then moving on, 4 of the new DPGs. This can be whatever DPG you want it to be, but this is fairly cheap. This is 25 cents a piece right now, so that's why we're playing her. One of the Dark States Overtrigger. We're playing Dark States Overtrigger just because it's also fairly cheap right now. Again, this can be a deck that you can upgrade over time, and the power will scale depending on how you upgrade it. Like if you take this out for, let's say, like you wanted to upgrade this deck with a blue Overtrigger. The blue Overtrigger can very easily slot into this deck as well. And then another part of the deck that makes it quite a bit expensive is 3 copies of the effect front. This can be regular fronts if it's not in your budget. That'll decrease the overall cost of the deck by quite a bit, just because these are like $3 a copy right now. But I wouldn't play draws. This is one of those Dark State decks that I wouldn't recommend draws, because you're already drawing so much, you're soul charging so much, and you're deck thinning so much that in a long game you could very easily like deck out, or you could very easily get to very low deck. That's why I'm and the fronts are really good as well. The shield in this deck isn't the greatest because you're running a lot of non-shield cards, so it also helps in that regard. 8 vanilla crits. We're not running any effect crits. You don't really need them, but if you wanted to upgrade your deck with effect crits, you can. And then 4 vanilla heals. Again, you can upgrade with the effect heals if you so choose. But yeah, this is my budget OSELARGEST deck profile, guys. I'm gonna go over some brief combos that you want to do in the earlier stages of the game, just so you can get an idea or a sense of why we're playing certain cards in this deck. So, a good turn 2 combo. You're gonna need a combination of Orthanes and either 1 Lordling or the Demonic Mansion. So you're gonna ride up, you're gonna discard whatever, you're gonna ride, you're gonna soul charge 2 here. So you're gonna soul charge whatever here, it doesn't really matter what you soul charge. And it's gonna give 5k to your Vanguard, so your Vanguard could already hit 15 by itself, which is really great. And then if you have CB, you're gonna call out your Baphomet, your Lordling, you're gonna get your Demonic out, and then you're gonna play your Demonic, give 5k to the Lordling, so the Lordling is now gonna be swinging for 18 by itself. If you went first, this is a key number against their 8k Vanguard. You're gonna soul charge another random card, so you can already see like we're building quite a bit of soul here. And then you're gonna call out an Orthanes. Orthanes skill is gonna activate since you played an order. And then you're going to top 5, call something. Let's say you call another grade 1 here. Or even you call a potential grade 2. You could call it here, one or the other. Then you'll be able to do another top deck and soul charge some more here. So right now you have a 15k Vanguard, 18k Rearguard, and another 18k Rearguard. And this is if only you had 1 Orthanes. If you had another Orthanes in your hand, you could essentially fill up your board for 2 soul. And then at the end of the turn, if you need the Demonic Mansion for next turn, you could just discard an extra card that you have or something you know you're not going to use and add the Famed Demonic Mansion to hand. Now, let's say you ride to grade 3 here. You're going to draw a card off of your ride line. You're going to put this back. You're going to call full Pigment Dragon. And this would be one of those combos that works best if you're going first. Now, if you're worried about, this would be better if you were going second, because then you'll be able to draw a card off of your Orthanes. But don't worry too much about that. Again, you could use the Demonic Mansion if you either have one or you searched another one. You'll be searching a copy of your Vanguard off of OSELARGEST. He's going to be 23 by himself. The way I would do this is I would probably do Demonic Mansion if I have it. Soul Charge another card. Give 5k here. Swing 15 if I'm going first. Soul Blast 3, draw a card if I'm going second, so this is going to be 20. And then I'll swing for 23, suck this into Soul, draw a card, and then I'll swing for 23. And let's say, depending on what you want to do, again, if you're going second, you'll easily be able to draw 3 cards here, calling out this. If you're going first, you could call this out. This is essentially a 15k Interceptor. Or yeah, you could really just call that out as a 15k Interceptor. Again, this is a deck that can very easily procure quite a bit of value. The only thing is weird is the attack patterns, which the fronts really don't synergize too well with the attack patterns, which is why you could argue to still play draws, even though it would bring you closer to deck out. But I digress. This is generally the combos that you want to do for the first couple turns of the game. Now, let's say you don't have that. Let's say, okay, if I don't have that, what are the bread and butter combos I want to do if I don't have those? Bread and butter combos of the deck, random booster right here. You're gonna swing, if it's your first turn, you're swinging just for 18 here with a Soul Blast of 1. If this is your Persona Ride turn, this is 28. Then you'll be swinging here for either 18 or 28. If it's your Persona Ride turn, put this into Soul. You'll be Soul Blasting 2 here. And then you'll be able to draw 2. And then this is going to be 23 or 33, depending if you're Persona Road or not. And then call back out your Tilligan. And then Tilligan will be either, again, 28 or 38 if you Persona Road this turn or not. So that's generally what the deck is trying to do here. I'm sorry if this was like a little bit of a longer video than intended. I will be linking the deck log down below. I'm going to be doing this for the other trial deck bosses as well, and these are guaranteed getting support in set 2, so also keep that in mind when you're buying cards to upgrade this deck. Because this is how I would play OSELARGEST right now for locals. Because, you know, obviously, you want to upgrade with the Blue OT. You want to upgrade with the Blitz Order, but those are fairly expensive right now. So this is how I would play it if I was just strictly going to locals, getting into the game, or playing with my group of friends. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. Tell me what you thought about this type of video down below, and I will be making more like this in the future. So yeah, you'll have a great night. Later.